It's day 10 of the Sunny Balwani trial, and it was a damaging day for Sunny Balwani. So I'm going to give you the highlights of today's testimony. We have a new witness on the stand. We're also going to take a look at 4 pieces of evidence because you know me, I like to look at the evidence. We're going to look at those exhibits. I'm also going to give you a scheduling update. And thank you to all of those of you who have subscribed. I appreciate you supporting my work. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Please hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and please do a comment. Leave a comment, I should say, and please do subscribe. Okay, so who am I? I'm Michele Hagan. I'm a legal analyst and a former prosecutor. You may recognize me because I provided a lot of legal analysis on the Elizabeth Holmes case, the co-defendant of Sunny Balwani. So this video is for information and educational purposes, and it's simply my opinion, my analysis. So please tell me, what's your analysis of the exhibits, the evidence that we're going to take a look at? So please do leave a comment. All right, so in case you just popped onto this channel and you don't know who Sunny Balwani is, he was the COO of Theranos, a blood testing company that was started by Elizabeth Holmes, who was the CEO. They are being tried separately. She had her trial. She's already been convicted of 4 counts. 1 count relating to conspiring with Balwani to defraud investors, and 3 counts of defrauding individual investors. Balwani faces the same 12 felony fraud counts that Elizabeth Holmes did. 6 relating to defrauding investors, 4 relating to defrauding patients, and then 2 conspiracy counts. 1 conspiring to defraud investors, and the other one conspiring to defraud patients. All right, so why was it a damaging day for Sunny Balwani? Well, the new witness on the stand was Danise Yam, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it, who was the controller of Theranos. So the testimony that Yam gave today was relating to the financials. And why is that important? It's important, and you might want to go look at the indictment video I did, and I'll read this to you. It says, beginning in approximately 2010, Holmes and Balwani made materially false and misleading statements to investors and failed to disclose material facts, including, and I'm just going to narrow it down because we're just talking about financials today, false and misleading financial statements, models, and other information. They represented to investors, this is all allegations in the indictment, represented to investors that Theranos was presently a financially strong and stable company, including that Theranos would generate over $100 million in revenues and break even in 2014, and that Theranos expected to generate approximately $1 billion in revenues in 2015. When in truth, the government alleges, Holmes and Balwani knew that Theranos had and would generate only modest revenues, roughly a few $100,000 or so in 2014 and 2015. So that is one of the allegations relating to the scheme to defraud investors. Okay, there's other allegations regarding materially false statements to media, providing those articles to investors, etc. So go ahead and take a look at the indictment video if you haven't, where I walk you through all the allegations. All right, so let's see. Why was it a damaging day for Balwani? Let me give you the highlights here. Oh, before I get to the highlights, scheduling updates. So there's no trial this Friday. All right, so there's only Tuesday and Wednesday they're in trial this week. Next week, we go back to the regular schedule of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday for the trial. Apparently, the defense, Balwani's attorneys, filed a motion late yesterday. So that is scheduled to be heard tomorrow morning, and it's a motion relating to miscellaneous relief. I don't know what it's about. We'll find out. Maybe we'll find out. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, and Mark Pandori, who had been on the stand, he's on hold. So they interrupted his testimony. Mark Pandori is a former lab director. And you can go back and look at the video I did the previous day. He's on hold. Okay, he was under cross-examination. So that is being interrupted because they brought on the controller Yam to testify in direct today. And they just started cross-examination. So let me give you the highlights, all right? And this is mostly of the direct testimony. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at those 4 pieces of evidence that are very interesting. All right, so let's see what happened today. So the controller is Sohan Spivey, otherwise known as Danise Yam, or Danise Yam. And that he was the controller for the last, I think he was let go in 2017. Yeah, let me double check here. He joined Theranos. Yam joined Theranos in 2016 when they had an outside auditor, and she reported to Theranos' CFO. By the time she was laid off, by the time Yam was laid off in 2017, it had no auditor. Yam was the highest ranking member of the finance team. And then Yam testified that Balwani joined in 2009, and he asked Yam to provide him regularly with the financial information. So again, that ties Balwani. The prosecution is trying to tie Balwani to knowledge regarding the financial statements, all right, and whether or not those financial statements were accurate or whether they were fraud, all right. So Yam testified that Ernst & Young had audited Theranos financials from 2006 to 2008, and KPMG audited in 2009 and 2010, but couldn't complete its report because, according to Yam, there was an issue, and KPMG thought that Theranos undervalued options given to Elizabeth Holmes, and some of the Theranos employees. So, Yam also testified over multiple objections by Balwani's counsel, right? They were objecting that this testimony was what Yam was going to testify to. And let me tell you what Yam testified to. Yam said that she thought it was unusual for Theranos not to have an outside auditor to audit the company's financial statements, right? So having an outside auditor, you would want to have that, right? And if you remember in the Holmes case, a couple of the investor witnesses asked for the audited financials, and they weren't provided, okay? So Yam thought that this was unusual, okay? And of course, the defense objected to this because is it relevant what Yam thought if it was an unusual thing? But I'm sure it was information that the prosecution wanted the jury to hear. All right. So Yam also said that Theranos had zero revenues up until 2008. Zero. They made nothing. From 2003 to 2008, there were zero revenues. And in 2009, it was cash-strapped. And this is where Balwani comes in. The situation was so dire that Yam and Holmes had to call a customer and ask them to contact Theranos' bank so they could clear the check early and that Theranos could pay their employees. So, Balwani lent, according to Yam, Balwani lent Theranos $8 million in exchange for 200,000 in Theranos shares at $36 cents per share in 2009 to help alleviate Theranos' cash-strapped shortage problem. So Yam says Balwani lent Theranos $8 million. I think if you go back to the video I did on opening statement, I think the defense said Balwani loaned Theranos $12 million. But anyway, moving on. So here comes another very interesting point. The prosecution went through various financial statements with the controller here, the controller witness Yam. And Yam testified, get this, Yam testified that the annual losses to Theranos had accumulated deficit of $161 million by the end of 2012. Yes, $161 million in accumulated deficit by the end of 2012. And I'll show you that financial statement, so you don't have to take my word for it. All right, so moving on here. So Yam also testified that Balwani asked her to include Calgene and Walgreens revenues in the 2010 accounting statements they provided to the auditors, to the KPMG, when they were doing the audit. But she said that she refused because there was no paperwork, and according to the accounting rules, the revenues shouldn't be included, the Calgene revenues. And she testified Balwani was frustrated. So we're going to look at that exhibit too. Or actually, I have another email showing you about Balwani's conversation, or I should say email with Yam, regarding how to report revenues, how to recognize them or not. All right, so then Yam couldn't recall if Elizabeth Holmes or Sunny Balwani gave her data for Theranos' annual projections. So Yam, the controller, testified she wasn't sure whether she got the financial projections from Sunny or for Elizabeth. And why is this important? It's important because I think the defense is trying to argue that Elizabeth was in control. It was her company. She was in control. She was the one that made the decisions on how they were doing the financial reporting. Right? So we're going to look at that, and you can make the call on this. So, and then she said that she couldn't recall if Elizabeth Holmes or Sunny Balwani gave her data for Theranos' annual projections, financial projections, which were in the 9 digits. So the prosecutor pointed to an email in which someone asked her what drove those stats. She replied in the email, Sunny's estimate. We're going to look at that, and that's pretty damaging, right? Because that ties them in here with the financial reporting, the financial projections, and the financial statements, and whether or not they were truthful or whether or not they were fraudulent misrepresentations. Okay, so then the prosecutor asked Yam if Theranos ever achieved anywhere close to the $990 million in revenue that Sunny Balwani and Elizabeth Holmes projected. Yam responded, no. Then in 2012, Balwani, we're going to get into the text, and I'll show you this text. In 2012, Sunny Balwani texts Elizabeth Holmes, quote, let's put every ounce of energy into focusing and breaking even and getting to 15 million revenue per month in October and every month after, a minimum of 15 million. That was Sunny's goal. He wanted to have a revenue of 15 million. Witness Yam testified, the controller testified, Theranos was never cash flow positive and never met that goal of 15 million per month that Balwani wanted in that text. That's pretty tough. Pretty tough. Never cash flow positive. And again, we'll take a look at the text. I'll get there. Just a couple more. The prosecutor wrapped up with a direct exam of Yam, the controller, pointing to a series of text messages. And you can look at the video I did on the breakup text messages, okay, because this is what they got into. So the prosecutor wrapped up Yam's direct exam, pointing to a series of text messages that Balwani had sent Elizabeth. In July 2015, Balwani texted Elizabeth Holmes, quote, "I worked for 6 years, day and night, to help you. I am sad at where you and I are. I thought it would be better. I know you are angry. I know you are angry in your way." Balwani's text went on, and quote, "and upset with me for not doing everything you wanted me to do." Holmes replied, question mark, question mark, question mark. Again, go look at the video I did on the breakup text. Balwani then texts to Holmes, "I am responsible for everything at Theranos." Oh, I am responsible for everything at Theranos. All have been my decisions too. Again, that goes to the conspiracy. 2 or more people have an agreement to commit a crime. All have been my decisions too. I won't transition until you are in a perfect place. I won't transition until you are in a perfect place. That's what he says to Elizabeth Holmes in those texts. So again, go look at that video or you may want to look at the video I did on the breakup texts. So more texts were shown to the jury, but the prosecutor pointed out a couple new texts. Balwani told Holmes, quote, I'm not leaving until we break even and stay focused. The PR strategy is wrong. We need to go on the offense and not be on the defense. Yam again said, the controller again said, they never broke even at Theranos. And you can also look at the video I did on the media text between Sunny and Elizabeth, and that is covered by this text here as well. You can take a look at that. So, prosecution finished their direct testimony, their direct exam of Controller Yam. So next up is the defense to do their cross-examination. You know, the tide could turn at any moment. I'm sure the defense has some evidence to show that, Sunny wasn't as involved in the financial statements or the financial projections or the models. Again, the defense is portraying Balwani. They're distancing him from the CEO, Elizabeth Holmes. It was her company. She made the decisions. She was in control. Okay, so let's take a look at those exhibits here, the actual evidence, and you can make the call. And please do, let me know what your analysis is. Leave a comment, and again, do subscribe. All right, so let's let me show you here a few things. So this is the consolidated balance sheet from 2013, from 2012 to 2013, and this is what they went over with Yam to show when she testified that they had a deficit of $161 million. So I'll scroll down and I'll show you here. You can take a look at this. I'll go slowly here, so in case you want to crunch the numbers. But anyway, accumulated deficit. Here it is. This is the 2012 figure, 161 million. Accumulated deficit. In 2013, 166 million. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And, the prosecution is trying to show that if they were so much with carrying such a deficit of 161 million, how were they out there representing that the company, allegedly representing that the company was financially strong and stable? All right, so let me show you 3 other exhibits briefly here. So this is the text that Sunny Balwani sent, and this is from Holmes, it says here Holmes MacBook Skype on May 6, 2012 at 8:46 in the evening. Sunny texts Elizabeth, love you. Let's put every ounce of energy in focusing on breaking even and getting to the 15 million revenue per month in October and every month after. This is exactly what Yam testified to. Every month after that, a minimum of 15 million. And then Balwani says something about a Tony just came in. Sorry, this is how the exhibit appears. And then Elizabeth responds to Sunny, we're going to put more than every ounce of energy plus the divinity. That's how she responds to this 15-month goal $15 million goal that Sunny has. And then Elizabeth says to Sunny, so important you are there. Now let's take a look at, and again, this exhibit backs up what the controller testified to. So let's take a look at this exhibit here. This is relating to the testimony regarding the accounting with Calgene. And I'm going to scroll down here so you can take a look at this. Oh, went too far there. Sorry about that. So this is to Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny. You notice it's going to both of them, right? So again, the defense is trying to distance Sunny from everything that Elizabeth was doing. So Danise Yam, she sends this email to Elizabeth and Sunny regarding the revenue balance, and she's talking about Calgene. So after adding back 50 million, the deferred revenue is 168 million, including the additional 25 million from Safeway that we could bill. The actual deferred revenue is 143 million, including 3 million from Calgene. We should also determine if any of the Calgene contract can be recognized. You can read the rest of it. And what does Sunny respond? Calgene should be recognized in 2013 for sure. Keep 165 as deferred for 2013, but in 2014 we will recognize at least 100 of it. And why is that important? Because this is showing that Sunny stepped in and he made a decision regarding the financials. He told Danise Yam, he told her to recognize Calgene revenue for 2013, right? So he's involved, right? Showing his activity regarding the financials. And then I'll let you read that, but Sunny responds to Danise and Elizabeth. She's in the loop here. We supplied them all the carts and Analyst project was closed. And then Sunny says to Yam, okay, we should all be working with it and get you the back end information regarding how many cartridges and analyzers were shipped. All right, so let me show you one other exhibit. This is, let's see, where is it? Aha, this is the one. So let me scroll down. So this is, again, Danise Yam sending to Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani a projection, a 409 projection. Hello, attached, please find the projection as of July 1st, 2013, and 2012 is attached for comparison. That's what I showed you earlier. The main changes are both related to the equity transaction, sales of 17.7 million plus 2 million, etc. You can go ahead and read this. And then Elizabeth responds to Yam, waiting for your feedback. And then Yam says to Elizabeth, from Elizabeth to Yam, we drove the 50 million in 2013 revenue. Elizabeth Yam is asking Danise Yam, the controller, what drove the 50 million in the 2013 revenue projection. And look what it says. And Danise Yam responded to Elizabeth Holmes, Sunny's estimate was the 15 million revenue projection for 2013. So that's pretty damaging. Pretty damaging. It was Sunny's estimate. And showing that he was involved. This evidence shows that he was involved in the projections and the financial statements. And the reporting, we'll see. So, Sunny's estimate gave the projection, the 161 million that they have accumulated in the deficit, yet they were allegedly out there making statements and representations and providing financial reports to the investors. Is it fraudulent? Was Sunny involved? So we're going to see what happened. We're going to see what's going to happen in cross-examination and see what kind of rehabilitation the defense is going to do, because that's pretty damaging. Those emails are pretty damaging, both on the 161 million, the fact that they never had a cash flow positive situation, the fact that, it was Sunny's projections when Elizabeth asked who made that $50 million projection. Sunny's estimate. So tell me what you think. What's your analysis? So please do leave a comment, a question. Please do support my work by subscribing, and do hit the like button, share the video. Thanks again for watching.